Your afternoon drivers rumble the issues on the Power Station.
Welcome to another edition of Rumbling the Issues on Radio Power 102. Now, I've never actually done a live before. And the truth is, quite frankly, is simply because I'm really intimidated by technology. I rather go to a library and read an entire shelf of books to come up with one simple statement that I have to make. I rather research an entire library than to technology intimidate me. But I just felt inspired to do it, and we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this goes. I imagine you all would advise me on if it ought to be sustained. I don't want to be a social media nuisance, quite frankly. But having said that, let me get to the substantive issues that I wish to deal with today. And of course, I must start with the shooting of my comrade and friend, Andy Williams, who was shot 4 times this morning at or around 5:30 a.m. on his way to work, where he's employed at another competing radio station. And when I heard that news, I became a sad man. I became a depressed person. Because the reality of the PNM's desperation stared me in my face. Andy Williams was shot for no other reason except, of course, that he's a critic of this current dictatorial regime. But you see, it rings true. It rings true. Because I told you about the operation of Papa Doc and his Tuntun Makut. I told you about that before in previous editorials. I told you, of course, about Eric Gary and the Mongoose Gang operation. I told you, of course, about Adolf Hitler and the Gestapo. I told you, of course, about Idi Amin and his henchmen. I told you, of course, about General Samosa and the Sandista. The Sandista. I told you about those things in previous editorials. You see, because General Samosa in Nicaragua, General Amin in Uganda, Papa Doc in Haiti, and Eric Gary in Grenada, they all have a common thread. And that common thread, of course, my friends, that common thread, I tell you, that common thread is that they were all elected leaders through a democratic process in their various countries. They all feigned not to like power. Just as how you are Rowley today saying he will not cry if he lose office. Well, I want to tell you something, Rowley. Ironically, I will not cry if you lose office too. they all, just like Rowley, keep saying they are not in love with office. But the common thread is that while they feign to you, and they feign to me, and they feign to the people then, as Rowley is feigning to us now, that they're not in love with office, they have no problem shooting people. The Idi Amin, Papa Doc, Gary, Hitler, all of them, they had no, and even Saddam Hussein in the Ba'ath Party in Iraq, they had no problem shooting their opponents, shooting down their critics. Today, I weld and glue the shooting of Andy Williams around the neck and upon the chest of the People's National Movement. Because they shot me too to remain silent. They slaughtered Gladiator to remain silent. And the question is, who is next? The question is, who is next? And this goes, my friends, this goes, my dear friends, this goes to the quality of the PNM's campaign. Because one, they are engaging the module of the Pour Me One syndrome. They are engaging the module of pretending to be victims. Let me give you an example. In their last internal election in Tobago, Stanford Calendar wrote the Calypso. He's the chairman of the PNM Tobago's council, in support of Kelvin Charles to retain leadership of the PNM Council in Tobago. And what happened? They had a song, Calendar, Charles, all of them. One of their platform songs was, if she was a beauty queen, we would have voted for she, referring to Tracy Davidson Celestine, who incidentally, and unfortunately for the people of Tobago, became the leader of the PNM in Tobago. They criticize in song how she dress. They criticize in song how she look. They criticize in song what she wear and how she match. No, them is kind of conversation is woman thing. So I really don't get into that kind of conversation, but I wanted to make this point. So a girl from the PDP, the candidate for Tobago West, went on the platform and threw a jab to Shamfa and told Shamfa, unlike Shamfa, her complexion don't come from a bleaching bottle. The same Calendar, Charles, and all of them, all over Tobago, running east, west, north, and south, helter-skelter, like chicken licking, telling everybody the sky falling. So they're giving you a kind of Pour Me One campaign. They're engaging in a victimhood campaign. But what a campaign lacking, and what I wish to call them out on, my dear friends, what I wish to call them out on, my dear friends, is this. Give us an account what I wish to call them out on is give us an account of the $300 billion you spent from 2015 to 2020. Don't repeat and rehash your lies and nonsense that you fed us in 2015. But for those of you who don't know, let me tell you what $300 billion. Well, let me tell you what $300 billion is. $300 billion is a Carib case. Each Carib case is $1 million. And I want to use, because we have asked a mathematician to do the computation and the calculations for us. So you see the acreage, the entire acreage of the Queen's Park Savannah? That will be filled corner to corner with Carib cases. And each case would be stacked up with 12 case high. A whole Queen's Park Savannah filled with Carib cases, and each case have $1 million. And each row, each vertical height is 12 Carib case high. And the Savannah filled, the Queen's Park Savannah, North Stand, Grandstand, Paddock, everything. All where they sell the food, everything. That whole big Savannah filled with Carib cases, all 12 rows high, 12 Carib case high, and packed corner to corner, and each Carib case have $1 million. That is the money they must account for. Stop playing victims. And this desperate type of campaign, this campaign that have now reduced to the shooting of Andy Williams. And the question is, who is next? Because I feel threatened. I feel harassed. I feel frightened. I feel threatened. I feel harassed. And I feel frightened of the PNM and the quality of their campaign. Their campaign have now been reduced to shooting their critics, the PNM. But you know what's frightening about this? One would expect, if I am frightened and afraid and feel terrorized, that I have the comfort of going to the police. Well, I tell you something, my dear friends. Going to the police is not a solution, because the police service is a PNM party group. And I'm not putting seawater in my mouth to say that. Let me demonstrate to you how the PNM, the police service is a PNM party group. Let me demonstrate that to you. Like most of you, including me, we will be too young to know, but we would read about some of these things, right? In 1970, when the masses in this country were all over the peninsula of Trinidad and Tobago, east to west, north to south, east-west corridor, crossing the Caroni Bridge, going to the Central Peninsula. At that time, the mantra was, Indians and Africans unite. Power to the people. What was the PNM reaction to that? They promised Randolph Burrows that he would replace Eustace Bernard as Commissioner of Police. And of course, Burrows and his flying squad was able to be all over Trinidad and Tobago, brutalizing black people for marching for equity, marching for economic space, and marching for an equal or an equitable distribution of this nation's wealth. You all forget that, or what? And the PNM then relied heavily on the police service to suppress that movement for them. Then we move on to 1975. When the eloquent cry then was for bread, it was for peace, and it was for justice. The persons that were at the forefront of that agenda matter were noble names like George Weeks, Joe Young, Clive Nunez, who is still with us, God bless his soul, Basdio Pandey, who of course cockroach eating the cape, like he chipping off these days. But we must love him and we must honor him for what he have done. Errol MacLeod, And believe it or not, Buzz Butler, in fact, that was Buzz Butler's last hooray. That was his last hoorah. What did that earn them? Marching for bread, peace, and justice. The PNM again sent the police, who seems to be in their pockets, led by one Superintendent Ramdiwa, who was head of the flying squad then. Butler who was head of the flying squad then in 75. Because, of course, for killing Guy Harewood and shooting Jennifer Jones and slaughtering Beverly Jones and all these fellas in the Cora Mountains that were part of the National Union for Freedom Fighters, Burroughs was promoted. And Ramdiwa was the man who took over the flying squad. Paramount Corner, they tear gas, brutalized, humiliated, assault, and brutally battered persons for simply marching for what? Bread, peace, and justice. Let us now hasten to 2020. Yesterday, Saturday, the Commissioner of Police in this country, one Gary Griffith, saw it fit to remove the police service from its neutral position and engage in political activities. What I'm talking about? Gary Griffith himself, in her slippers, her beach pants, her short pants, beach pants, and a sailing shirt, went to Carenage to shut down a UNC motorcade. Notwithstanding, the candidate was showing him receipt of her approval. And I wish to tell these candidates and so something. There is no approval in the law required to be sought from the police for the purpose of motorcades and processions and public meetings. While Section 113 of the Summary Offences Act is very clear and it prescribes the procedure which requires the application and all of that. So 113 say you must apply, right? 113 say you must apply. 114 say how to apply. These are the sections of the Summary Offences Act. And I know this, I don't have to read these things, I read these things already in school, I know these things. 113 say you must apply. 114 say how to apply. 115 say some of these specifications in how you apply. 116 say after you apply, what is the next move? But 120 and 121A of the Summary Offences Act prescribes how you treat with if you weren't successful in the application, what is your next step? Yeah, what is your next step and all of that. But 117, thank you, Jaron, 117 of the Summary Offences Act said, notwithstanding what is prescribed in 114, 120, 115 and all of that, I agree, did not say 113, but I'll tell you something about that. But 117 say, because my argument was, if I had to advise anybody legally, my advice would have been, you are safer from nomination day to midnight before the election day. But after reading the act, the act say, in essence, it is from the time the election was announced. In other words, from the time the election was announced, you could mount your truck You could campaign, and you do not need to seek any police permission at all for doing that. The law is very clear. And notwithstanding, okay, if 117 of the Act say 114, 115, 116, 120, 121A and all that doesn't apply. But all those are only triggered by engaging the jurisdiction of 113. So the law have to tell you to that 113, although it's not written. The law don't have to tell you that 113 doesn't apply. Because there is something called statutory interpretation. Not so, Richard? Yes. Statutory interpretation. You first use the literal rule, and then if the literal rule doesn't assist you, you move on to the golden rule. And if the golden rule doesn't bring some clarity to the situation, then you move on to the mischief rule. And of course, if none of the three, the European Court of Justice have now introduced something called the purposive rule. So I am saying, and in fact, this issue about Section 113 versus Section 117 was already challenged in the courts in Trinidad and Tobago, you know. And look, I have lawyers said, some lawyers have said, yes, preach, teach them. This issue of 113 and Gary Griffith's political conduct, I am accusing the commissioner of police in this country for engaging in political activities. Because this issue of 113 versus 117 in the Act went to the courthouse and was decided upon already, you know. And I would ask the commissioner, I would caution the commissioner of police, I would caution the commissioner of police in this country to ask your legal people to find for you in the West Indian Law Report the Court of Appeal decision in A.N.R. Robinson and the Attorney General of 1975. Because what you did last Saturday, the appeal court have condemned that conduct before in this country. And more than that, and much more than that, have awarded A.N.R. Robinson damages in the sum of $40,000. So going to the police, because the PNM strategy now is to shoot down critics of their governance. Going to the police, because the PNM strategy is to shoot down critics of their governance, would not help, because the police service is a PNM party group. And I accuse Gary Griffith of engaging in political activities. Then they bring out some nonsense called the Watkins Committee. A wishy-washy, nasty, stinking, dirty committee. Not the people at the committee. Not the people at all. Not the people, the committee. The people are nice people, respectable people. Hans is on the committee. I met Hans twice. I don't know Hans, but Anil say Hans dunce. I don't agree with Anil that Hans dunce at all. I like the boy. He works at Bobby. He's one of my co-workers here. But Anil Roberts say dunce. I don't agree with Anil. Anil mouth they like to wash him out at people too much. But I'm not attacking the committee.
But Thomas, before you move on, I just want to...
What happened?
One brief second, Thomas.
No, it's some PNM stupidness you're coming up with.
So I will sit down here whole day and hear listen.
You have the right of reply. Reply to me at 5 o'clock.
No, just one.
No, I'm not giving way.
One thing?
I am not giving way.
Okay.
My time limited and I do have injury time. My time limited.
Okay.
No.
Giving way?
I am not giving way.
I said in giving way, Thomas. No, I'm accepting it. Giving way. I just want to let you know PNM is not in the business of shooting
I said
people.
I am not giving way. You say that at 5 o'clock. You reply at 5 o'clock.
All right.
You're annoying me. That is what you want to do. So you want to bully me here.
No.
Shoot me when we don't agree. And So what you going to do because I don't want you to give way? No. Shoot me like how the PNM shoot Andy Williams?
Thomas, come on.
Not me, you know.
I have given way.
I grew up, I born in a cemetery, you know.
Yeah, I call it security.
I born in a graveyard, you know.
We know.
And I grew up on roast scorpion and coconut, you know.
And then cut your neighbor string with a hoe. We know.
So, you see now, I wanted to tell you all about the Watkins Committee. But Richard Norrie take up my time. He interrupt me. He annoy me. So what I would do, I propose that I would let he get the right a reply in 5 o'clock. And then we'll continue the live. And we'll do the I'll deal specifically with the Watkins report in another session at 6 o'clock. So you see what we have to go through? They shoot Andy Williams, PNM. They kill Gladiator, PNM. Now Richard Norrie here is bullying me. Well, I don't accept bullying at all, you know. I don't accept bullying at all. And I'm not afraid of the PNM. And I'm also not afraid to die. So I intend to continue criticizing this government. I intend to call them to account. And if shooting me like how they shoot Andy Williams and killing me like how they kill Gladiator is the lot I have to pay, then welcome that. Strike your blow and let me to my maker go, because the PNM could destroy my body, but the PNM cannot destroy my soul.
Your afternoon drivers rumble the issues on the Power Station.